Hello, and welcome to Hindsight 101, where you'll learn about things that will help you in everyday life. Today, let's talk about, do you really need to get legally married? Well, my wife and I, we aren't, and it's been working perfectly fine for us, at least so far. So if you want to know more, keep watching. Okay, so there's some good and bad. I'm going to talk about some pros and cons. The first, you want to make sure you have the proper documentation. So a will, a power of attorney, a medical power of attorney, everything in place. So if something were to happen to you, you fall ill or your untimely death, everything is taken care of and your family is taken care of. So just make sure you research that and find out what you need, and make sure it's all spelled out. And you have to have a conversation with your significant other, because there's a lot of stuff you need to know about each other. What's going to happen if something terrible happens to you? I talk about this in another video, so go check it out or look at the link below. Next, beneficiaries. Make sure your significant other is your beneficiary. For instance, life insurance. Make sure their name is listed. There's other things that you can use as beneficiary, but that's the top one. So go through your stuff and just see where you can add them, and then legally they will be entitled to whatever that benefit is. Next, we're going to talk about income. When you're married, your income is usually combined, and sometimes that could hurt you. For instance, school loans. Remember back in the day, if you were applying for school loans and you had to use your parents' income, because if you went off your income, you would apply for every loan out there. But since you have to add your parents, that could probably hurt you in some way. Same thing in marriage. Say you or your spouse wanted to go back to school and you wanted to apply for loans. You have to combine your income. Well, now if you're not legally married, you go off your own income. So that also works out. Also with taxes. We did the math and we realized, at least in our situation, that there's not much of a difference if we did our taxes together or separately. So that's something you're going to have to judge for yourself. And then we have kids. So we determined who was going to get the kids, and it works out better that it was beneficial for my wife to take the deduction for the kids with her. The next one is more of a personal preference for you. It's about the whole wedding ceremony and getting a ring and everything that follows along with that. You can still do all that. There's no reason why you can't, just because you're not legally going to get married and get the marriage certificate. My wife and I, we decided not to do that because we would rather spend it on a down payment for a house, or you could have a better honeymoon as well. But if you were to choose to do all that, you still can, and there's no problem with it. We did talk about having a wedding, or a ceremony, a union ceremony, whatever you want to call it. And we weren't going to hire a minister, so she thought, well, she wanted one of her close friends to do it. And technically they could, since we weren't legally getting married, nothing was official, and anyone could perform the ceremony. So you can get kind of creative with things when things aren't completely official. Next, let's talk about common law and some of the myths that are behind it. There's only a handful of states that actually still practice common law. A lot of states that did have it you're still grandfathered in. But as of today, there's really only a few that still have it on the books. Now check your state to make sure you are or not one of them, and then find out all the rules behind it. But even with those states that do have it, you have to actually do something, just like you would a marriage license. You have to go apply for it. So it's not just that rule where if you're together for 7 years or a certain amount of years, you're automatically joined at the hip. No, that's not the case yet. That's not the case. So make sure you go check out the law and find out what your state has. This next one is more of a personal belief, but it may apply to you. I feel that not being legally married makes you try harder, because you may see in some marriages where you kind of get lazy because it's kind of, you're locked in So you may not pay attention as much or do things that you used to do. But in my situation, we're not locked in. There's other reasons why people stay, but just focusing on the legal aspect of marriage, we're not locked in. So there's more of incentive to, make sure you try harder, make sure you pay a little more attention, just keep the romance alive, as you say. It all depends on how you look at it. So now that we've got some of the pros out of the way, let's talk about some hurdles you may have to face. This isn't all encompassing, but these are some of the things that my significant other have talked about. So first one is Social Security or any government benefit. As of right now, my wife and I, we could not get each other Social Security. The only way that could happen now is if we got married. But the way, I guess you can say a workaround for that for me is I made sure that I was financially stable, such as life insurance, I have investments, and different things like that to make sure my family is taken care of. So they don't have to depend on my Social Security that they may never get. So next, let's talk about kids. This situation may or may not apply to you, but I have a son that's both mine and my wife's. I'm on the birth certificate, so there's no problem there. But I also have a daughter that my wife had in a previous relationship. And that could cause a few problems because if something were to happen to my daughter health-wise, and the doctors wouldn't recognize me as a legal guardian, that may be a sticky situation if my wife wasn't available. We have planned some things out to make sure that my wife is always available if we go on vacation or something like that. But if it were to happen, we feel the doctors would make the best decision if they wouldn't recognize me as the legal guardian. Another way around that is adoption. That's kind of a sticky one because usually there's another person involved and you have to get their sign off. But as of right now, with my daughter, we decided to give her the choice when she's ready for it. So until that happens, we have these other plans in place. Finally, the other obstacle is health insurance. As of right now, there's no way I could add my wife on my health insurance or she adds me to hers, unless we actually got married. We both work, so that's fortunate for us. But in this situation, if one of us didn't, that would be a problem. We'd have to go to the open market or, as I said, get married. So those are some of the things to think about. Now, those are just a few things. I'm sure there's going to be many more as I grow with my family and find out this whole experience. Feel free to comment below and let me know if there's things that I haven't thought of that maybe you have, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you like what you saw, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And if you didn't, put the thumbs down and comment below and let me know.